Veronica presents the AI Repertory Theatre's production of Dan Turner, Hollywood Detective, in the conclusion of Drunk, Disorderly, and Dead by Robert Leslie Bellham. Chapter 6. A Lesson on Poison.
I took another gander at his corpse, gulped 3 or 4 times. Then, because the phone bell's harsh clatter was rasping my frazzled nerves, I uncradled the instrument and said, "Yes?"
Gordon, this is Dahlia Mannerling. That private detective Dan Turner may be on his way to see you. He was just here. He left me handcuffed to my bed. He tied up Grimes the butler, too. But Grimes got loose and came upstairs, broke the bedpost, and freed me. Oh, Gordon, it's terrible. Turner accused us of having poisoned Rhoda Ashworth. You know we didn't do it. You've got to find some way of convincing him.
I hung up on her. Listening to her terrified telephone monologue had cleared a lot of cobwebs out of my thinking machinery. Now I knew positively that Dahlia was innocent, and that Gordon Maxim was likewise beyond suspicion. Thinking she was talking to Maxim himself, the blonde babe would certainly have spilled her guts if there had been anything to spill. I also knew she wasn't linked with Maxim's death. Had she been aware of it, she wouldn't have supposed that she was talking to him over the wire. Okay, then who the hell had bumped him? It certainly wasn't suicide. The setup was rigged to make it look that way, but the killer had overlooked Maxim's crippled right arm. The bald little T-Vox biggie couldn't have wielded a heater with that withered duke, couldn't have triggered a slug through his own right temple. So the answer was murder. Then I saw the motive for it. A scrawled note was on his pillow. I lighted it with my pencil flash. I poisoned Rhoda Ashworth with a dose of gelsemium rhizome. Now I'm following her to hell. Gordon Maxim. That confession was phony. It had to be to link up with the spurious suicide. In the first place, if Maxim had really been guilty of poisoning Rhoda, why hadn't he killed himself with a dose of the same medicine instead of messing up his brains with a bullet? And in the second place, I'd already tabbed the fact that he couldn't have used that gun with his right hand. So the story was easy to figure. The real killer had hoped to cover his tracks and close the case by creaming Maxim and planting Rhoda's bump-off on the dead man's coattails. And where the hell did that leave me? It left me in the soup. Because my fingerprints were all over the Maxim house where I'd let myself in and touched sundry doorknobs, banisters, or what have you, the law might damned well accuse me of croaking the T-Vox executive in an effort to get out from under that previous murder beef. Damn! I scuttled downstairs, slipped furtively into the night. One question kept bothering me. What the hell kind of broth was gelsemium rhizome? For that matter, who might have access to the stuff in lethal quantities, plus the opportunity of introducing it into Walt Ashworth's whiskey? Tim Sullivan's name seemed to slip into the answer column of that mental questionnaire. He'd been sweet on Rhoda Ashworth in her cigarette girl days. He'd seen her public drunk acts, and he might have blamed her apparent downfall on her husband. It would have been easy enough for him to dope the bottle of rye while carting it from one table to the other. Then by accident, Rhoda had imbibed some of the stuff. But that didn't explain the head waiter's subsequent attack on me. Nor could I understand why Walt Ashworth himself hadn't gone to glory after drinking a dollop from the poisoned bottle. For once in my life, I was up a stump. No matter how I added it up, 2 and 2 kept making 5 instead of 4. The main trouble was I'd never been tangled in a poisoning case before. Most of my homicides had been shootings, stabbings, and so forth. Then I thought of my crime library. There were some toxicology handbooks in my apartment stash. Maybe I could learn something from them. I nailed another yellow, got out a block from my dive. I approached carefully. I knew the neighborhood would be infested with plainclothes cops hoping to put the arm on me. But maybe they'd forgotten to cover the rear alley entrance to the basement garage. It was worth a chance. Luck smiled. I sneaked in without being tabbed, legged it upstairs. Then I froze into an alcove as I saw a hulking Blister parading up and down past my front portal. His back was toward me. I didn't wait for him to turn around so I could get a hinge at his puss. I didn't need to. I ducked around an elbow in the corridor, reached my kitchenette door. I went in that way. I didn't snap on the overhead lamps. My flashlight was good enough. I opened my bookcase, dragged out Trumper's Memoranda on Toxicology, turned to page 184. Then I whispered, "Well, I'll be. Go to hell." My puzzle was unriddled. The paragraph I'd read cried out for a drink. I inhaled about 6 fingers of VAT 69, wondered how the hell I was going to trap the killer. Then the skis started coursing through my arteries, nudging my brain cells. An idea hit me. I grabbed my phone, dialed it softly.
Hollywood Citadel News.
Is Peaches Vanner, the photographer, there?
I will connect you. Miss Vanner talking.
Her tone was sweet and dulcet to match her disposition. She was a nice little red-haired trick, even if she did snap photos for a living. I'd been on more than one party with her in the old days, knew she could be damned accommodating at times. "This is Dan Turner, the great lover. Remember me?"
Great lover. Good heavens, Dan. Do you know the bulls are looking all over Hades for you?
"Yeah, I know all about it. Nuts to them. I want to ask you a question."
If it's the usual one, why ask it? You already know the answer.
"This is business, not pleasure. Didn't I see you in the Café La Bamba early this evening making candid shots and popping off flashbulbs?"
You did if you were there, but what?
"Listen, honey bunch, have you developed any of those negs yet?"
No, I was just about to start. Why?
"I hanker for the real out of your candid gadget. It may mean getting my neck out of a sling." She drew an audible breath.
If you're on the level, I'll do anything you want. Or is this a gag?
"No gag. Meet me in 10 minutes at the corner of Yucca and Las Palmas. It'll be good and dark there. Bring that spool of film with you, and keep your fingers crossed for me." I rang off. My next move was to rifle the phone book, find Walt Ashworth's number down at Malibu. I whispered the call to a toll operator, listened for the ringing signal. Presently, Ashworth answered. He sounded logy, surly.
"Well, what is it? I'm not giving any newspaper interviews."
"I don't want one, Walt. This is Dan Turner."
Dan? My God, man, where have you been and what did you have to do with Rhoda's death? The reporters are claiming that you—
Never mind what they claim. They're all damp. But I'm about to clean this thing up once and for all, and I'll need every bit of your help.
What do you mean? If you know anything, for God's sake, tell me.
It isn't what I know now. It's what I'm about to find out. Have you got a dark room down there at your beach place?
Yes, certainly. Photography is my business.
Good. I'll be seeing you soon. And I'll have some undeveloped candid negs with me. One of them is going to show a snapshot of Rhoda's murderer in the act of putting poison in the whiskey. Then I broke the connection. I went into my bedroom, opened a bureau drawer. I dragged out a spare automatic to replace the one that had stopped Tim Sullivan's slug. I hefted it, went out through my kitchenette. The hulking geezer was still parading past my front door. I slid up behind him, poked my rod into his kidneys. "Don't do anything foolish, Sullivan, unless you're hoping to become suddenly dead."
Chapter 7. Antidote for Death.
The head waiter from the Café La Bamba stood petrified in his tracks. I turned him around slowly, frisked him for his .22 gat. "Have you been waiting long, pal?" His glare called me a dirty name.
"Damn your soul, Snoop."
"Cork it! Justice is about to catch up with somebody. The somebody might be you. Do I make myself clear?" He just stared at me with glims that sparked profanity. I prodded him toward the rear stairs. "So you found out from the headlines that your bullet hadn't croaked me. You also saw where I'd lammed from the law, so you hung around my stash hoping I'd show up, hoping to get another chance to use me for a clay pigeon. You've got a filthy disposition, Sullivan." His muscular frame jerked.
"And you're,
"Don't say it. I know what's on your mind, so keep the words to yourself. This is going to be the payoff. Down the stairs with you. No noise. Cops are probably all around, but if you yell for them, I'll blow you to glory." We descended. The basement garage was evidently unguarded. I made Sullivan get behind the wheel of my jalopy, told him what to do, and explained what would happen to him if he didn't. He heeled the starter, gunned the motor. We whammed up the slanted ramp, doing a good 35 in second gear. A harness flatty was at the entrance, and he damn near got knocked into the corner pocket. The scratches are still on my left fender, where it scraped the brass off his buttons. He yelled blue murder. Then he pumped his slug at us. But we were on the street and underway by that time. A bullet nicked my bucket's rear deck, scared the toenails off Tim Sullivan. He mashed the throttle as far down as it would go. He made it to Las Palmas and Yucca in nothing flat. I kept my Roscoe up against Sullivan's brisket the whole time. Stop here. Peach's Vanner was parked in the shadows, sitting in a 1933 clunk that looked ready for the scrapyard. She got out when we pulled up alongside.
Dan?
She looked cuter than hell in a slanted hat and man-tailored tweeds. Her ankles had just the right chiffon sheen of slimness. Her curves were all to the mustard. I beckoned. Give me the films, babe.
Here they are. Can't you tell me?
Not now, but I'll need your chariot. There'll be a radio bleed out for mine by this time. Do you mind? She shook her head.
You're welcome to the old bus, Sherlock. How's about letting me in on the doings?
Sorry, hon. No can do. But I'd like one more favor from you. I want you to phone Dahlia Mannerling. Tell her I'm going to make the big pinch. Got that?
Yes, that is
Tell her hell's going to pop at the Ashworth joint in Malibu. That's all. I got out of my crate, kissed her while still keeping Tim Sullivan covered. Then I motioned for him to take the wheel of the other car. He did. I crawled in beside him. To the beach, pal. And let's not linger. The Vanderdahl's wreck rattled forward. 50 was its top speed, but that was okay. It spelled less chance of being stopped by some nosy motorcycle slob. I kept my Roscoe and one lamp on Sullivan, the other on the road. The payoff was coming up. We wound through the canyons beyond the Will Rogers Memorial Polo Field, zipped into patches of fog and out again. Now the road began to dip into its last slant, where it joined the coast highway. Malibu lay to the north. I felt sweat beginning to form in my armpits. Would my trap work? Hell, it had to work. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to prove a damn thing. All I had was a theory. It was ironclad and steel riveted, but it wouldn't stand up in court. Not unless I got a confession to back it up. I nudged Sullivan with my rod. Remember, you're to keep your trap corked. I'm going to have you under the gun every minute. If you make one wrong move, you're in a hell of a fix. He just grunted. Then we were in front of the Ashworth stash. I got out, kept Sullivan alongside me. I rang the Ashworth bell. Walt opened up. His eyes narrowed when he saw the head waiter.
What's all this?
He looked like a walking cadaver. His map was pasty, his glims sunken, his kisser dry and parched. He didn't observe that I had Tim Sullivan under duress. That was because the rod was in my pocket where it wouldn't show. You can ask questions later, Walt. There's work to be done now.
What kind of work?
With my free hand, I produced the roll of exposed film that Peach's Vanner had given me. This. When you've developed it, you'll have a snapshot of your wife's killer.
How do you mean?
A newspaper photographer was on deck at the Café La Bamba tonight. She snapped a series of magic eye shots just as Gordon Maxim sent that fifth of rye over to your table. Remember the flash bulbs flaring just around that time? Well, this reel will show the bottle being carried and the poison being dumped into it. That was like prying the lid off of hell. Tim Sullivan let out a raging bellow. Walt Ashworth dragged the .38 Spanish from his hip pocket.
Give me those films, damn you.
He made a grab for the spool.
You'll never gas me.
He drew a bead at my noggin. I ducked as his cannon yammered. Tim Sullivan gave vent to a squeal of pain as a slug nipped him in the left arm. I went hurtling at Ashworth, tripped over a rug. It threw me. My cranium collided with a wall. For a split instant, I was stunned. Then Sullivan and Ashworth came together. Sullivan had only one duke to work with. The other arm was hors du boulet, but he did good work with the tools at his command. He wrenched at Ashworth's hog leg, tried to snatch it. Ashworth fought like a maniac.
I'll kill you, both of you.
From the front doorway, a dame screeched. My glims cleared enough to let me see Dahlia Mannerling coming into the room with two sheriff's patrolmen flanking her. Then, somehow or other, Sullivan twisted Ashworth's rod around just as it went off. Ashworth coughed, stiffened, and went down. Red juice leaked out of his chest, stained his shirt. The two highway cops lunged at Tim Sullivan, disarmed him, pinioned him. One of them said,
"What the hell goes on here?"
Then he said,
"Why, I'll be damned. Your other son has slugged me on the road tonight."
He pointed a finger at me. Take it easy. If you arrest anybody, it'll be Walt Ashworth here. He's the murderer. Aren't you, Walt? Ashworth writhed on the floor.
You snooping louse.
It's funny what the needle will do to a man. It made a killer of you. When Rhoda learned you were a hophead, she tried to reform you. She pretended to get drunk in public, pretended she was having love affairs with a mugs like me. Her tactics made you sore. You began to hate her because she wanted to straighten you up. Maybe she went so far as to threaten you with other things, such as proclaiming your dope addiction to the world. She was nutty about you, pal. Too damn nutty for her own good. Her attempts to make a man of you backfired. You determined to kill her so you could go on with your needlework without being nagged. You chose the poison route. Being a photographer, you had access to chemicals. And you selected gelsemium rhizome because it would give you a swell alibi. A book on toxicology gave me the tip-off, Walt. Gelsemium kills by respiratory paralysis, asphyxiation. But its first symptoms are exactly like the signs of ordinary drunkenness: dizziness, double vision, staggering gait, loss of speech, and so on. You could dose Rhoda with it and everybody would think she was merely plastered. And you could take some of it yourself without it harming you except to make you somewhat sick. Because the only antidote for gelsemium is morphine, and you are already saturated with that. A blood bubble formed at his lips. Burst.
You think you're smart.
I lit a smoke. Sure, I'm smart when I can read the answers in a book. You figured to drink the same poison you gave Rhoda, but she was the only one it would kill. Then you could claim somebody had tried to croak both of you. By a freak of luck, the whiskey you used came from a bottle sent over to your table by Gordon Maxim. Later, you decided you could pin the works on him by creaming him and making it look like a suicide confession. But I trapped you, pal. I did it with a reel of film. You thought the negatives might show you in the act of pouring your poison in the rye bottle. That caused you to go off the deep end, and now you're finished, thanks to Tim Sullivan. Ashworth didn't answer me. He couldn't. There wasn't any more breath in his lungs. It had all leaked out through that bullet hole. Sullivan growled.
I'm glad. I wish I'd washed him up with my bare hands.
Then he looked at me.
I'm sorry I went gunning for you, Mr. Turner.
Skip it. You knew Rhoda had left the cafe with me. When you heard she was dead, you thought I'd killed her. You loved her and you wanted revenge. I realized why you tried to ventilate me. That was why I never once suspected you of Rhoda's kill. If you'd been guilty of poisoning her whiskey, you wouldn't have thought I was responsible. That's nothing but simple logic. He nodded.
Anyhow, I got the revenge I wanted.
Yes. And Dahlia Mannerling gets a hell of a big story for her column. I guess everybody ought to be satisfied. The big blonde Bim gave me a quivery smile.
Will you take me home, Dan?
Her eyes were thanking me for clearing up the mess. And I sort of gathered the idea that if I took her home, she might show her appreciation in other ways. I slid an arm around her waist. The morning was young. A lot could happen before the sun came up. I said, "Let's go, kiddo. After all, what the hell?"
We hope you enjoyed AIRT's production of Dan Turner, Hollywood Detective, in the conclusion of Drunk, Disorderly, and Dead. Follow and subscribe to get early access to all of Dan Turner's cases. For even more stories, visit veronicapresents.com. You can help us grow our audience by rating and reviewing this show. Thanks for listening.